Happy belated Labor Day, everyone. I am here with my most recent training update preparing for the New York City Marathon. Cheers, y'all. How's it going? I am back with the latest training update preparing for the New York City Marathon. But first things first, no, this video is not sponsored or brought to you by Home Depot. My wife and I are in the middle of moving to a new apartment. We are in our new apartment, but still living out of boxes, still waiting on a handful of things to be delivered. I also hope the audio quality here is okay because I have no idea where my microphones ended up in packing. Hopefully I'll have a nicer backdrop in some future videos to come, but we're working with what we got right now and wanted to get you all the latest training update for this race because I finally had another solid week of training. They have been few and far between over the last couple months. But before jumping into the specifics of the training update, I've got another delicious beer, Tropical Goza from Ethereal Brewing. This is from my Bruvana Beer of the Month box. Like I said, Tropical Goza. I took that sip at the start of the video and it is so good. Tropical flavors, anything with tropical flavoring is usually tend to be my favorite fruit flavors when it comes to fruit flavors in a beer. If you've ever had Pog or pineapple orange guava juice, it is fantastic, and I identify that as like my favorite fruit juice flavors. And that is very much what this beer tastes like. But a little bit about Bruvana. They sent me this box to review. If you'd like the full breakdown, I'll link to that video down below so that you can see it. But it's a Beer of the Month club. Each month is a specific theme, and the theme is letting you know about an unknown beer city from around the US. So the box that I got to sample was Lexington, Kentucky. You get at least 7 different beers. My box actually came with 8 from at least 4 different breweries represented. You get a unique piece of glassware as well as a souvenir from the city as well. But I am really enjoying tasting my way through all of the beers that I got. But if you'd like to check out Bruvana, highly recommend it. Again, there's a link down to that below. I do earn a small commission for referring those purchases, but really enjoying the box so far. But that out of the way, let's get into the training update. I feel like my solid weeks of training have been few and far between. I have had an insanely hectic summer into the start of the fall now that we are officially past Labor Day. Specifically with my weekends, it seems like my wife and I always had some kind of engagement, something booked, which makes it very difficult, A, to stick to a consistent training schedule, but especially with those weekend long runs, which are oh so important to marathon training. But things are starting to settle down. So I had a conversation with my coach. Also, just a huge shout out to my coach. When I'm starting to have kind of like that self-doubt, or I'm not sure of myself, or I'm having trouble finding the motivation for training, etc., you name it, I don't even necessarily have to reach out to him when I'm having one of those low moments. He can always, it seems like, intuitively sense when I'm going through that, and he initiates reaching out to me. So this week he reached out to me and was basically like, hey, we haven't been in contact as much as we usually are. I feel like we should be talking more. So let's not just touch base on the days that you're running, but also on your rest days as well. Just keeping in touch about how things are going. No yes or no answers. I want as much detail as possible. So making sure that he's holding me accountable to give him the information that he needs to help me be successful in this training program. But I mentioned at the beginning of this New York City Marathon training block, I had a pretty substantial goal. And that goal is to run the marathon in under 3 hours and 30 minutes, or as close to that mark as I can get. But then after Mohican and feeling a little low after Mohican, and then also just not feeling like I have been able to commit to training as intensely as I would like, I was starting to get a little bit worried about that. But talked with my coach, he reassured me we still have a long way to go time-wise. There's still plenty of time before the race, so we can continue to evaluate along the way. But for now, I am just going to keep pushing myself during these runs, keep taking it run by run, week by week, and see where we're at come November 7th. But this week, like I said, solid week of training. Got in all of my runs, which was definitely challenging because this past week was also my first week commuting back into the office, into a new office in Manhattan. We made it work. We got all of the runs in, and I am here to report on a solid week of training. So I'm just going to go through day by day, give you the breakdown, and then give you some reflections as well come the end of the week. Kicking things off, if you have tuned in for training updates in the past, you know Mondays are almost always rest days. This was no different. My wife and I flew home from Italy on Sunday, so Monday was a much needed rest day. Like I said, it was my first day commuting back to work, my first time back in the office since last March. Just took it very easy, very relaxed, just was trying to figure out my schedule. also while balancing the upcoming move to this new apartment. So juggling a lot of things going on. Monday, much needed rest day. Going into Tuesday, I decided to run after work, which I don't normally do. I much prefer to get my runs done out of the way early in the morning, but to get into the city in time for work, I had to be on, I think I had to leave for the train right around like 6:40. So it just made it very, very challenging to get in a run. Before that, would have to get up very early. So I had a 60-minute endurance run, which I did after work. Nice and easy, very controlled. It was a 6.39 mile run over that 60 minutes. That was an hour and 5 minutes total and averaged a 9:24 pace. The interesting thing about this run was I also knew that I was going to have a speed work the next day, and I knew I would not be able to do a speed work run after work, and I would have to do that in the morning. So I was finishing Tuesday's run at 8, knowing that I was gonna have to get up at like 4:30 in the morning the next morning to hit a relatively challenging speed workout. But Tuesday's run, great. Immediately got home, showered, ate food, went to sleep, up at 4:30 in the morning, out the door a little after 5 a.m. And the workout was 4 1-minute sprints with 2-minute rest in between, then 4 2-minute sprints with 2-minute rest in between, and then another 4 1-minute sprints with 2-minute rest in between each one of those. I actually felt very, very good, very strong during this workout. For the first set of 4 1-minute sprints, I was averaging about 0.17 miles for each of those sprints, holding around between a 5:50 and a 6-minute pace for those. Then going into the 2-minute sprints, I was hitting 0.32 miles on average during those splits and averaging a 6:12 pace, 6-minute, 12-second mile pace for those splits. And then for the last 4 1-minute sprints, again, averaging around 0.17 and really hovering right around that 5:50 mile pace. Felt very, very good on that run. It was 51 minutes total, 10:19 mile, again, with the rest and the warm-up included in that. Total was 4.96 miles for that run. After that, Thursday was a rest day, which ended up being very fortuitous because we had that the remnants of Hurricane Ida coming through the Northeast. If you saw anything on the news, New York, New Jersey, the whole Northeast was just woefully unprepared for how much rain was coming down. Thursday morning, the subways were not running, the trains were extremely delayed, the commute was a nightmare, and it took a long time for all of that to get up and running. So me being very new to commuting into Manhattan, obviously that was a lovely surprise to wake up for on Thursday. So was very happy that at least I had a rest day on that day while I navigated some of those challenges. But we were back at it on Friday, and every now and then my coach likes to throw in these kind of mix-ups of like a mix of strength and speed work or strength and sprints, and that was one of these, a series of intervals where I would do 6 push-ups, 6 lunges, 12 sit-ups, and then a 400-meter sprint. I would time how long it took to do all of those, my active time, and then I would rest the equivalent interval. I want to say I was at like 2 minutes and 40 seconds or 2 minutes and 50 seconds on average for the active time to do the push-ups, lunges, sit-ups, sprints, and then I would rest that same interval, and I did that whole circuit 8 times. The only thing that the time and distance accounts for was my warm-up, cool-down, and those 400-meter sprints. So the time for that workout was 31 minutes, 14 seconds, averaging a 7:48 mile, 4.01 miles total. For those 400-meter sprints, I was hovering between a 5:40 pace and a 5:50 pace, and those sprints were taking me about 1:25 to 1:28, I believe was the range of each of those intervals. But a fun workout, a nice way to mix things up. Like I said, just mixing in some strength with some speed work, some strength with some running. Always fun to work those workouts in week to week. Moving into the weekend, Saturday was a beast of a day, not necessarily running wise, but this was one of our big moving days. We moved a ton on Friday. That was the day we actually signed over the lease, got the new keys to our new place, so we moved a lot of boxes in on Friday. Saturday, we had to go to our old apartment, finish packing up, moving out all of the heavy furniture, etc. But I had to do a long run, and I wasn't gonna miss it, so I made sure to wake up early and get the long run in before the full day of moving. It was a 90-minute endurance run, one of my more frustrating runs because every once in a while, again, my coach will also have me do these kind of heart rate limited runs. So for this run specifically, had to keep my heart rate under 145. Mentally, I think I broke this workout into thirds just in terms of how I was feeling throughout. The first 30 minutes, I was feeling pretty good, but I was sort of juggling, trying to find what the right pace was, what I needed to feel like to maintain that effort under 145 beats per minute for that heart rate. The second 30 minutes, very smooth, very controlled. I found my rhythm. I was feeling really, really good. And then the final 30 minutes, I often struggle with this. And just later in the workout, your heart rate starts to climb a little bit as you've exerted yourself more. I think as I'm closer to home, I tend to try to, or unconsciously just pick up the pace a little bit. Combine that with the fact that I just really, really had to pee. So I think also unconsciously, I was trying to get home as quickly as possible. And so I was just having a really, really hard time keeping under that 145 mark. All in all, though, still a very good run. It was 1 hour, 30 minutes, 42 seconds, 8.52 miles. So when I do these heart rate restricted runs, my pace is usually very, very slow. And I was at 10:39 per mile for that run. But again, felt really good. It was a nice way to start the day. It felt good capping off a week, getting all of my workouts in, despite having to juggle a lot of the stuff that was going on in personal life and in the outside world. Sunday was a rest day from running, but we also had a wedding Sunday night, so my legs certainly did not get nearly as much rest as I think I would have liked, but felt really good this past week. Total mileage, 23.88 miles. Again, I'd like to see that mileage start to climb as we start getting closer to the race. I should have kind of like a test half marathon towards the beginning of October, the first weekend of October. Feel really good coming off of this week. Still not really sure where I'm at fitness-wise or where I'm going to be on November 7th, but leaving this week with a lot of confidence, just knowing that I do have time. I do have a lot of time to start ramping up that mileage, start squeezing in some more long runs, and start getting a lot more prepared for this race. But very, very excited for the New York City Marathon. I've mentioned in all my videos, I am doing this for charity. So if you would like to contribute to the charity, there's a link for that down below. There's tons of free goodies and giveaways and things like that you can unlock for donating in different tiers. Full details are on my page. For those of you that did donate after my last video, thank you so much. I know I mentioned I would be doing an August giveaway. I will be doing that this weekend and notifying the winners, and I'll make sure to announce that here as well. I do have to give a special shout out to Tim. Loved sharing all the miles out with you at Mohican, and just looking forward to the next time our paths cross again. You have no idea how meaningful that donation was, but also the comment that you left as well, just helping me continue to stay motivated for this race and get out there and grind some miles. So I hope you're watching this week. And for everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to be back with plenty more content as the weeks go on preparing for this race. But until then, I will see you around. Cheers.